Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
He needs care and treatment.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Is this a great country or what?
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. We got a weekend to react to, a successful one for LSU's baseball team. We played the Final Four. We'll have a title game tonight that we will certainly discuss. LSU football spring practice ongoing. We'll hear from Harlem a little bit later on. Saints trade options in the draft. I saw a story on ESPN.com that interested me a little bit. We'll talk about that in the bottom of hour number 2. We'll welcome on Jacob Rudner from Baseball America. Jacob was last on the show, actually, when I was in Omaha. He wrote a story about how Jay Johnson's the best coach in college baseball. Baseball America did not rank LSU this week, but I do want to get some big-picture national thoughts from Jacob. We're getting closer to the time where you start to look at postseason stuff, and I want to know what he thinks about UCLA, who's, I think, won 20 in a row, something like that. I want to know what he thinks about Georgia Tech, who's scoring a ton of runs. Just some non-LSU specific to SEC stuff, but I also want to talk about a few SEC storylines with Jacob, so we'll talk to him coming up in 90 minutes. Let's crank this thing up the way we always do with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
If you want to criticize this LSU baseball team, I'll certainly listen to you. They don't play defense very well. The pitching staff is spotty. They don't have a third starter in the absence of Cooper Moore. An ace has not truly emerged. Offensively, they've struggled at times with really good pitching. It's not a work of art, but their head is above water. This program 2 years ago played very poorly the first month of SEC play, and they could not keep their head above water. They were 3-12. They continued to lose Sundays. They got swept twice. They just weren't good, and they couldn't keep their head above water by making some game-changing plays late to switch some results, and they paid for it because they had to go to Chapel Hill and play probably the best opponent available to them. You can't play an SEC team in the regional round, so North Carolina was probably the best team out there, and that's where LSU got sent, and they got beat. I don't know what's going to happen with this team over the last 6 weeks of SEC play or in Hoover, or whether or not they'll host a regional or make a regional or travel to a regional, be a 2-seed or 3-seed. I don't know what's going to happen. But over the course of time, with this first month of league play where you have not played great baseball, you are 6-6 because this team will fight you and scrap you and claw you late in games. I know they gave one up against Vanderbilt, had a lead, had Guidry on the mound, had 2 outs, and you gave it up. I know that every game hasn't gone exactly to script, but you were trailing in a game against Kentucky on Sunday and came back and got it, and you were trailing twice in Knoxville. Curiel grand slam on Friday, and then Jake Brown's dribbler up the middle that tied things on Sunday, and the eruption in the 12th for the 10 spot, and you win the series. It's not a work of art, but they're fighting and scrapping and clawing, and they're okay. 6-6 is okay. It's not ideal. We're not going to get into postseason metrics through 4 weeks of SEC play. LSU's are bad, but there's so much in front of you that it doesn't really matter. What matters is what you've done, not what will happen, because that's to be decided. And what you've done is keep your head above water. Now, I can paint this picture 2 different ways. I can. And I'll choose to do it this way. I think this is not bias. I don't think it's skewed. I think it's the proper prism to view it through. This offense is coming to life a little bit. It was asleep for 3 weeks. It's coming to life a little bit. They're still not solving really good pitchers. Jackson Jelkin from Kentucky carved them up last Friday. He went 8 innings. They had no answer for him. Landon Mack went out there on Friday for Tennessee, and he went 7 innings of one-run baseball. He struck out 10 and walked 1. He gave up 3 hits. Then on Saturday, Tegan Kuhns, who's a super talent, gave up just 4 hits and 1 run through 4 innings. And they went to Appenzeller, who's been the best pitcher on their team this year, has not allowed an SEC earned run, and he shoved you in a locker for 5 innings. Talking trash to Curiel, strutting off the mound, blowing you away. 6 strikeouts, no walks, and 5 shutout innings. So, like, against the best guys you saw, Mack, Kuhns, and Appenzeller, they combined to go 16 innings and give up 2 runs. Like, you didn't touch those guys, just like you didn't touch Jelkin. But the offense is coming to life against average and bad pitching. Kentucky didn't have anything after Jelkin, not in the starting rotation and not in the bullpen, and LSU ambushed them. And Kentucky's depth as a pitching staff has not been good. You saw that because they blew all 3 games in Nashville, and they gave up 2 to you. And you look at this LSU offense, and just the raw numbers, LSU, over the course of 8 games, so the 3 against Kentucky, 2 midweek wins against Louisiana Tech and Southern, and then the game against, and then the weekend against Tennessee, that's 8 games. LSU is hitting .314 as a team with 13 doubles and 21 home runs, and they're averaging 10.4 runs per game over 8 games. That's not that small a sample size. Now, look, Southern's pitching is terrible. Louisiana Tech's midweek pitching is terrible. Kentucky's bullpen has not been good. Tennessee's bullpen has been terrible. But you got to start somewhere. And the starting point for this team is they are swinging the bats against mediocre pitching. And you're getting contributions from guys other than Jake Brown, other than Derek Curiel. Seth Dardar, over these 8 games, is hitting .444. He's got 4 doubles, a triple, and 3 home runs. I did not think he would hit .220 all year, and he's coming out of it a little bit. John Pearson has been inserted into the lineup. He's currently riding a 6-game hitting streak, and in those 6 games, he's got 3 home runs and 9 runs driven in. He's helping over at third base. Cade Arambidi, pretty good Sunday. he had as many home runs on Sunday as he did all of last year. And Stephen Milam, we know he can get hot. He's got 7 hits in his last 4 games. I know Jake Brown didn't have a big day on Sunday. He hit 4 balls 100 miles an hour. The one that he hit no miles an hour is the one that counted because they were shifting him and came in and couldn't make the play to end the game at second base, and LSU played that run. But the most likely fault of this team, the most likely slumping piece to this puzzle to come out of it a little bit was always this offense. The defense is not good, and I'll talk about that in the next segment. Like, not having a Cade Anderson, Paul Skeens style ace, it's just not a likely thing to happen. And right now it hasn't. But this offense, I don't believe, is as bad as it looked the end of non-conference right into the beginning of conference play. I don't think it was that bad. The only way LSU was really doing anything offensively is when Cam Johnson could not find the zone, when Vanderbilt's Sunday starter could not find the zone, when you were just being gifted a bunch of runs. That's really the only production you were getting early in league play. Well, now you're starting to slug. I get it. Lindsey Nelson is a tiny stadium. I understand that. I don't expect LSU to hit 11 home runs every weekend. But you're at a ballpark where if you backspin one to the right spot, you can make hay. And LSU did that. They hit .378 with runners on base this weekend. They hit .346 with runners in scoring position this weekend. It was not good against the high-level arms, but that's the next step. The first step is stop getting shoved in a locker by Sacramento State. The first step is stop not being able to swing the bat against poor SEC Sunday pitching. Now you're starting to make that step. Can you get to the point where you are then actively putting pressure on SEC aces, where you are putting together better at-bats against the better bullpen pieces? We'll see if this team's got that in them or not. But I just didn't believe that Aaron Beatty and Dardar and Pearson and Trent Carraway and Braden Simpson and Omar Cerna and Mason Braun. Like, I didn't think everyone, Stephen Milam, was going to be as bad as they could be. And this is kind of the same refrain that I gave you last week, but now we've got another week on top of it. And you've got an 8-game sample size here where you're scoring 10 a game. So on one hand, the quality of your contact is significantly better. You are hitting the ball much harder. Home runs, doubles, you're hitting the ball harder. That had to happen, and it is. And the second piece to this, and this is intangible, but you're watching it, you can see, they believe. They're having some more fun. It weighs on you, man. It weighs on you when you're not playing well. And they were down 2 or 3 or 4-0 every game for like 3 weeks there. And it's a hard way to play the game. And they're still falling behind. They fell behind on Friday. They fell behind on Sunday. But they've now been in that spot. They've had some success in that spot. There are more guys than just Jake Brown hitting the ball hard, than just Derek Curiel hitting the ball hard. And there's some confidence, there's some camaraderie, there's some energy, there's some juice. It's why I was okay with Seth Dardar's 30-foot bat flip. One time, okay, let's blow off some steam here and feel a little bit better about ourselves. And they did. And so you got the series win. That's 2 series wins in a row. I wouldn't suggest that Kentucky or Tennessee are great baseball teams, but they're programs that have had some success over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. And you stared them down and you got rubber matches when you were trailing. I'd prefer they play from ahead a little bit. I kind of liked game 2 against Kentucky more than I like game 3 against Kentucky or game 3 against Tennessee, but you'll take them any way you can get them. And that's the point. Is this team is, if you're looking at this through a championship prism, they're playing like bad. They're playing bad if you're looking at it through that way. Your ace is inconsistent. Your bullpen's got leaks. Your defense is a mess. You're losing some games. Like through a championship prism, it doesn't look very good. But if you zoom out of that and just take it for what it is in the landscape of college baseball, you're okay at 6-6. You're okay. You're going to have to finish, but they're okay through a bad stretch. It's the opposite of what it was 2 years ago. So LSU should feel good getting on that plane coming home. They should take the field with confidence tomorrow. They should be able to get on the road and go play Ole Miss this weekend and feel like they've got a great chance to go win a weekend. And they should feel like no matter what the score is in a game, they're still kind of in it because you're getting production up and down the lineup over the last 2 weeks. That's something they've got to have because they're going to have to make up for that defense, and they're going to have to cobble pitching together where they can and hope that Cooper Moore can come back and be a helping hand to them. So I'll talk about some of the negative things I saw over the weekend, but the biggest picture here is the offense is taking some steps. They're coming out of things, and you're okay at 6-6. What do they do moving forward, and why are they 6-6 with 6 losses, and why do they keep falling behind, and what are the issues, and how might they be fixed? I'll talk about that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. They can do something quick, something easy but impactful. Those tub-to-shower conversions, that's the bread and butter for One Bath and Closets, and it can be a 3 to 5 day process, one that's pretty painless, and it's transformative. If you have an old tub that you don't use or that's not functioning properly or it's just ugly and dingy, get rid of it. Put that glass walk-in shower in. Use that space a little more properly. Go ahead and invest in your home. David and his team do this kind of stuff all the time over at One Bath and Closets. Check out the website, onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com. They've got financing available, and get that free consultation sometime this week. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online at onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
It's about Lifetime Roofing. LifetimeRoofingLA.com is the website, LifetimeRoofingLA.com. And Lifetime Roofing will offer you a lifetime warranty. And that warranty covers the workmanship, also covers the materials, which are backed by CertainTeed, one of the oldest and most trusted name in building materials. It's an amazing thing that they can offer you there, a lifetime workmanship warranty on your roof. They can also help you finance. They've got an in-house team there that will help you through it, whether you're financing the entire roof that you may be buying. You can finance it up to 18 months for 0%. They can also finance a deductible if you've got a sizable deductible and you're going through insurance with that. I also want to remind you, they have the opportunity to install gutters, siding, windows, all available at Lifetime Roofing. Check them out online, lifetimeroofingla.com. That's lifetimeroofingla.com. All right, one of the big talking points here among the fan base, and it's my job to communicate, obviously, with the fan base and talk about the things that you want to talk about, is Zach York. And I understand why. He's been a mess right now. There's no two ways about it. My contention is, and I'm not going to pretend like I watched Zach York play all of his games at Grand Canyon. I didn't. But it appears to me that he's mentally in a really bad spot. And I draw that from the fact that you're talking about a guy in 3 years at Grand Canyon, he made 8 errors total. He's made 5 in half a year at LSU. Now, I didn't get a great look at Sunday's play when he got the ball thrown to him by Dardar and the play wasn't made. I couldn't tell from the view that I have, which was the live television view, whether or not it was just a low throw that hit off his glove or whether it bounced and he didn't pick it. First of all, that's an inexcusable throw from Dardar. You're a college baseball player who's a senior. It's 45 feet. Make the throw. And he didn't. It looked like York should have caught it as well. But in any event, the error was charged to York. It probably was in the air. And the play's got to be made. You also let a ground ball go through his legs on Saturday. I don't think I'm going to trust LSU at this point with what I've seen from that defense. I'm not going to trust them to turn a 3-6-3 there and get out of it with no runs. But certainly you'd like to get out of it before you give up the long ball. So the defense has not been good by Zach York, obviously, but his job is not to be an elite defender. His job is to impact the game offensively, which he did at Grand Canyon. He's the program's all-time leader in multiple categories offensively. In an SEC play, he's 5 for 34. That's a 147 average with 14 strikeouts and no extra base hits. And he's guessing a lot. He's taking strike 3 a lot. And I just think he's fighting it. And you could see we played the soundbite after the Louisiana Tech game. He hit the 2 home runs, and they asked him about, maybe coming out of a slump, and it was he said, I'm pressing, and he just looked like a guy who was in a tough spot mentally. And I get it. There are always going to be folks, and I talked about this previously, that just are going to lash out when a player on their team is not producing. And that's going to be Zach York's situation right now. You check social media, you check message boards, you check my text messages. It's not all warm and fuzzy for LSU's first baseman right now. And in my opinion, he needs to sit. Not for the season, just right now. And so you've got some options at first base. Mason Braun is listed as first baseman. He was a high school outfielder. I don't know if he's capable at first base. He's played some in the fall and preseason. Maybe he can play there. Maybe Eddie Yaman can play there. I have no problem with him being in the lineup. He's hit the ball pretty hard in very limited showings. If you're going to play Cerna at first base, you want to catch Yaman when Aaron Beatty DHs, that's fine with me too. Like, you have some options. You can put Braun there. You can put Cerna there. You can put Yaman there. There are guys you can play there, and I would sit Zach York for a little bit right now. I still believe he can hit SEC pitching. I watched him hit in the fall, and he hit LSU's arms really well. But right now, he's just playing petrified because he's making mistakes in the field that he didn't really make at Grand Canyon, and he's not swinging the bat. And I realize that most of you listening to me right now are yelling, sit this guy down. He can't play. He can't play defense. He can't play offense. He's not any good. Get out. Give me somebody else. I understand that. I don't think Jay Johnson's going to do that fully. But I would play some other guys right now and maybe give him a week where he's just doesn't have to think about every mistake that he's made over the course of a weekend, because right now he's fighting it in a bad way. This team defensively, to kind of piggyback off of that with York, these problems just aren't really fixable. You don't have a Michael Braswell available to you that you can plug in that is going to play good defense on the infield. That you just don't have one. Like, you thought maybe Jack Ruckert could go do that. He showed that he could not at this point. So you're going to have to go with some of the better bats and hope that the issues don't crop up at the worst possible time. you're going to have to go with Dardar at second. He's hitting 444 over the last 8 games. He gives you some power. He gives you some doubles potential. And he's made some plays defensively at second base. He helped turn a big double play over the weekend. It's not beautiful, and I wish he would have made a way better throw to Zach York on that error that was charged to York. The second baseman doesn't need to be throwing the ball at the first baseman's ankles. If your shortstop does on a backhand play in the hole, I need the first baseman to step up and make that play. The second baseman on a routine ground ball needs to pick it up and then hit the guy in the chest. But you're going to live with Dardar's defense there at second base and see what he can do offensively. And John Pearson has swung the bat pretty well and hasn't been awful defensively. He made the one overthrow in the 9th inning there, but he's been okay defensively. I'm going to give Milam a pass on the one bad throw from shortstop on the double play ball. He's been perfect all year, and he just didn't make that throw. Jake Brown continues to be inaccurate with that cannon of an arm in right field. He cost you a base with a wild throw. I think he probably should have thrown the guy out. I mean, just a good throw when he catches that foul ball early in the game on Sunday. A good throw gets the guy at home pretty easily. It was 15 feet up the line, and it skipped and went out of went awry, and it caused an error. But you're going to have to live with not great defense at catcher, not great defense at second, and not great defense at third, unfortunately. Caraway is a little bit better defensively at third base. Probably he's not hitting at all. His at bat in a big spot yesterday was just completely non-competitive. 3 straight sliders. He swings at a ball that's 2 feet out of the strike zone on an 0-2 slider with the runner on third and less than 2 outs. And that situation arose when LSU sent the runner home in Curiel on that ball that was hit to right field that the right fielder misplayed. I understand what Josh Jordan was trying to do there. You're in extra innings. You've got some chaos on the field because the right fielder has misplayed the ball. You've got a veteran base runner who's got pretty good speed in Curiel. You want to make them make a play. And look, you can't get any closer to being safe than that play was. He was out. He missed the base by literally less than an inch on the slow-mo on the slide. But in that spot, in extra innings, in a tie game with no one out, I just cannot make an out at home plate. I can't. Especially when Tennessee doesn't have elite bullpen guys to go to there. Josh Jordan is a really good third base coach. He's made some great sends and some great stop signs in his time there at third base. And this one wasn't egregious because you just about made the play, but I can't run into an out there in extra innings in a tie game with nobody out. That one was tough. So there's a lot of things that LSU does that just aren't great. Their defense is not great. They're not doing an awesome job of hitting really high-end pitching. That's what great teams do. They don't have a proven ace that is stepping forward. But Evans has been okay. Schmidt's been pretty good. Cowan's found himself a little bit, and the offense has dragged him out of it at times and won games late, and you kind of are where you are. So to me, if I'm looking at like fixable things, I'm going to roll with the guys, Dardar and Pearson at second and third. I'm probably going to sit York for a little bit and see what Braun can give you, see what Yaman can give you, see what Cerna can give you with Aaron Beatty at catcher. And that's what they're rolling with. Jay Johnson's not afraid to push buttons. And he's doing some of that. You saw this week a button was he was going to go with Danny Lockenmeyer against lefties instead of Ethan Plog and Santiago Garcia. That's a kind of a button that he pushed there. It was good one time, got an out. It was not great when Lockenmeyer came in and hit the guy. And the last piece to this weekend puzzle is Jay getting run on Sunday. You knew that was coming. It was a poor call. You're going to hear me jump on officials and referees for doing things outside of making the calls. I don't like ejections in most cases. I don't like technical fouls in most cases. I don't like when umpires, especially the home plate umpire, doesn't ask for an appeal. Procedural things I don't like. You're going to miss calls. It's hard. And he missed that call. And Jay had it, and he went out and did that. But I'm not going to jump down the umpire's throat for me personally. Jay should have. And Jay did exactly what he should have done. Me as the analyst 24 hours later, like, I'm not going to go nuts because the guy missed a strike call. It's a hard job. You're not going to get every single pitch right. And in that spot, it's a tough one to miss. He missed it. But Jay was going to go out there and get his money's worth of that because it was a spot and obviously a hitter. Now, knowing we know now there were 2 more home runs to come and 2 more that he already hit, you don't want the bat being taken out of that guy's hands. But the guy just missed the call, and Jay let him have it. And that's not a side of Jay Johnson you see very often, but that was the spot. When you've got a team that's fighting like crazy and you're in a late inning situation, there's not a lot in the 9th inning that Jay Johnson's going to do managerially at that point unless you tie it and go to extras. It's time to go and to have your guys back. And he did. And I thought the images of him after the game, jumping into the team huddle, he's got his hat on backwards, he's smiling, cutting up with the guys. They appreciated it. He appreciated them having his back after he left the game. And that was a huge win for LSU on Sunday. There's no 2 ways about it. That game goes a lot of different ways. I mean, Tennessee was inches away with an out at second base and with a potential walk-off 2-run homer in either the 9th or extra innings. Not sure what inning that was, but y'all know the ball I'm talking about when Levi Clark hit that ball that Curiel caught at the wall. You were inches away in both those instances from losing the game. It didn't happen. It swung back your way. And over the course of 30 games, you hope to come out on the good end of more of those than bad. You came up on the short end against Vanderbilt in the opener, and you got one back there on Sunday, which was awesome for LSU. So that's kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly for 3 days of baseball in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's a success when you go there and win 2 games. LSU hadn't done that since 2016. They did it over the weekend, and they now move to the final game of the final weekend of the first half of SEC play in Oxford at 6-6. Our Monday show is brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Find them online at guaranteehealth.com, guaranteehealth.com. Take a time out. We come back. We'll switch to LSU football next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Gotros Outdoor Power. Gotros Outdoor Power. Locally owned and operated. Family owned and operated. But that doesn't mean they're small. Not at all. In fact, you're talking about Gotros Outdoor Power with the largest parts inventory in the state of Louisiana. Gotros Outdoor Power is the largest hustler inventory in the state by far. So if you're looking for a zero-turn mower, look no further than Gotros Outdoor Power. They've been in business for 22 years. They've got trucks running all day, all over the state. So if you don't have a trailer, but you need to get that mower delivered to your house, they can help you. If you need parts, they can be of service to you in that way. And financing is incredible. They can get you behind the wheel of a new zero turn for $100 a month. So go see them. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge. Again, in Gonzales, Airline Highway in Baton Rouge. You can find them online at GoTrosOnline.com. GoTrosOnline.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Telling you about First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. Looking for a commercial loan? First American Bank and Trust. Looking for a personal loan? First American Bank and Trust. It started up in 1910. You've been doing something 116 years. You got to figure it out, and they do. That's why they've grown to 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana. Wherever you are in our part of the world, there is a First American Bank and Trust near you. And the people that are working there, that are making the decisions there, that you have a relationship with there, are part of your community. They're the people you see out on the town on a Friday night. They're the people you see at church on Sunday morning. And they're making the decisions about your business. That's why you should do business with First American Bank and Trust. It's not just a local mom and pop shop here. 25 locations. That means they've got the resources to help you. So if you're looking for a commercial loan, you're looking for a loan for that home of your dreams, First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. All right, let's talk a little LSU football. Harlem Berry met with the media back at the end of last week. I wrote about it a little bit at LouisianaSports.net, and he's got an opportunity to really take a big step forward here at LSU in year 2. I believe last year he just didn't have a chance. You had an offensive line that was not very good, a system that was not very good, quarterback issues, and a passing game that didn't help the running game at all. And so to try to draw a lot from what you saw in LSU's ground game last year would probably be a fool's errand. And so Barry talked a little bit about his takeaways from that freshman year.
What I took away from that was just getting on the field, being used to coming from St. Martin's to LSU, just how fast the game is, how fast everybody is. Even the D linemen are pretty fast. They get after you. So just being able to learn from that, how fast the game moves, the different types of plays, the physicality, that's one thing I took away from that.
thought that was an interesting answer, learning how fast it is. And you realize, like, St. Martin's is not the top of Louisiana high school football in terms of the classification, the competition level that you're playing. As much 7-on-7 work as you're doing or going to work out against guys at camps, it's a different world when you put on the pads and go play in the Southeastern Conference. So this is a big offseason for Barry to get in shape and to up his game. Entering his sophomore season, he talked about his offseason work.
Definitely trying to get that size up, at least maintaining it within this offense because, this is a real fast offense. So definitely trying to get the size up and, most importantly, my stamina, being able to, go with the tempo and all that. So just being able to do that was a big thing.
I mean, you gotta be able to play fast in Lane Kiffin's offense, and it creates advantages for the offense, but you've got to be in great shape to do that. So it's a balance for Barry between adding the weight and making sure that you're in the proper conditioning, and that's where Coach Savage comes in, that new strength and conditioning program, and Barry talked about that.
Coach Savage, when we first got here, the workouts was devious. I'm not gonna lie, I was real tired. I called my mom too, real tired, telling her that this is different. But we embrace it, and we working, and we just trying to get in the best shape we can.
Gotta be in shape to play offense at LSU under Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. There's no question about it. The other piece of that offensive coaching puzzle from Ole Miss, Kevin Smith, who's come over to coach the running backs. And I can tell you, we're out there at practice, and they are the closest group to us, the running backs. Kevin Smith is an involved coach. He is intense. He is yelling. He is running through the drills. I mean, he still looks like he could play in the NFL, quite frankly. And he goes through all the drills first to kind of show what he wants to see them do. And all these guys are new to him. So sometimes they're struggling to do it, and he's not having it. He is getting all over those guys all the time. But I think it's something that they've been pretty receptive to. We're there. You see those guys going through those drills, and not a lot of complaining, just a lot of listening and a lot of working. And so Harlem Berry talked about his relationship with this new running back coach.
Oh, yeah, Coach Smith, definitely a different type of coaching style. He played the position. So, him just coaching us, giving us these little nuggets on different types of cuts, the way to move the ball. It's great coaching, and the drills we be doing is really intense.
We've seen that. There's no question about it. And I think the talent level that LSU's got at running back is strong. Obviously, you've got Barry, who was the number one prep running back in the country when he came out. You've got Caden Durham, who was a freshman All-SEC back a couple of years ago, who's got a lot of talent, was a 4-star coming out of high school. I think what you've done in the portal has been pretty interesting. And I think when you look at this group of players, I think that you're going to start with Barry and Durham as kind of a default, but it wouldn't surprise me if Dylan Jones gets a lot of carries. That's a guy who comes from Wisconsin. I talked about him last week. He's big. He's physical. He's the most physical back they've got on the roster, and I think he can fill a need. I think you're going to see more of Barry. Barry's more adept in the passing game than those two guys are. He's more elusive probably than those two guys are. But if you're looking for guys to break tackles between the tackles, I think you're looking at Durham, who's proven he can do that when he's healthy, and I think Dylan Jones as well, who's just a big physical presence. The guys that are the constants are Barry and Durham. They were here last year, and I thought it was interesting to hear Harlem Berry talk about Caden Durham, who looked into the transfer portal, looked into leaving, and was talked into coming back. And I think Harlem Berry was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, CD, that's my brother, for real. So it's like, when I first came in here, I sat next to CD in the room, took notes from him, learned from him, just being able to, because he came in before me, so just being able to learn from what he was learning when he first came in as a freshman and up until now. So we just trying to work together.
I have given these statistics before. It's jarring because you look at LSU was 16th in the country, 16th in the conference, dead last in rushing last year, 16th the year before that. 2 consecutive years dead last in the conference. You look at Ole Miss, conversely, with Lane Kiffin, and you're talking about a team last year in Ole Miss that was 6th in the SEC in terms of yards per carry, that led the SEC, number 1 in rushing touchdowns. The year prior to that, Ole Miss was 5th in the SEC in rushing. In 2023, Ole Miss was 5th in the SEC in rushing. The year before that, in 2022, Ole Miss led the SEC in rushing. They have made that a priority. They make that a staple of their offense. They are committed to it, and they make it happen. And you see what happened with Kejuan Lacey, and I think that there is a lot of credit that goes to Lane Kiffin and to Charlie Weiss Jr. about that. I think there's a lot of credit that goes to Kevin Smith about that. There's an evaluation piece to it. There's a development piece to it. There's a commitment piece to it. And there's an execution piece to it. All those things have to line up, and none of it lined up for LSU over the last couple of years, and it has for Ole Miss. When people think of Lane Kiffin, they think of air it out, score a ton of points, throwing the hands up in the air before the ball snapped, deep balls, big plays. All that stuff is true. They do a lot of that stuff. But it all starts with the running game. They want to run the ball, period. And they have. They've been among the best in the country in rushing touchdowns. They've been among the best in the conference in rushing yards per game. You look at attempts per game, Ole Miss is always way up there. They led the conference in 2022, led the conference in 2023. They were 6th in the conference in 2024. And last year, they were 4th in the conference. Like, they are going to be, LSU with Lane Kiffin is going to be in the top 3 or 4 in the SEC in rushing attempts, not dead last like they were last year. LSU ran the ball 29 times per game last year. Ole Miss ran it 38. 9 more per game. The year previous to that, LSU ran it 28 times a game. Ole Miss ran it 39. So 11 more times per game. There's just a commitment to making sure you do it. And LSU just hadn't done that, and that's going to change. There are a lot of things that are going to change about this offense. That's one of them. And I think that the talent level you've got with Jones and with Berry and with Durham is enough with the offensive line that we think should be better than the one last year was, 2 years ago was run blocking. It should be better. And I think Harlem Berry factors into that. There was a real thought from the periphery that when Frank Wilson left, that Harlem Berry and Caden Durham may follow him, or maybe one would follow him. It turns out that both guys stayed. They're both thrilled to be here. I wrote about this. Harlem Berry said, "Look, this is my home. I always wanted to go to LSU, and I came to LSU. I didn't want to leave LSU." He didn't, and now you got a chance for him to be potentially a lead back on a team that runs the ball heck of a lot better than they did last season. That's at least the hope here in Baton Rouge. Our Monday show is brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. We still got a lot to do. Jacob Rudner is going to be with us at the bottom of hour number 2. He's from Baseball America. We'll talk some national college baseball storylines. I've got thoughts on tonight's championship game as well as the Final Four. We got to talk about the women's Final Four. We got coaches screaming at each other, saying they're going to beat each other up. That's one way to go about things. I'll talk about that later on, and we'll get you ready for tonight's national final. What are the Saints? Could they trade in the draft? We've got a thought on that coming up. We'll do that to close out hour number 1 coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com. Jonathan Carver and his team are just awesome to work with. You realize as the spring is here that means summer's next. And at the end of summer, you know what that means. It's hurricane season. The time to look at your property policy about hurricane season is not when there's one in the Gulf. That's too late. You're going to get a moratorium on coverage. You're stuck with what you got. How about right now in a low-pressure situation, just take a look. How did your building get evaluated? Where did you arrive on your business interruption limit? What about deductible? Why did you put that number where it is? Do you even know what those numbers are in your current property policy if you're a business owner? If not, let the Highland Insurance Group come in and look at it. They know that the property market down here in South Louisiana is tough. They're an independent broker. They've got multiple markets that will take a look so you can make sure that you've got the best price and the best coverage. That's what the Highland Insurance Group will do for you. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online at HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Shout out to Guarantee Health Solutions. Find them online, GuaranteeHealth.com, GuaranteeHealth.com. What is Guarantee Health Solutions? Well, it's right there in the name. It's solutions moving forward for healthcare. If you're a dentist office or a private clinic, if you're a urgent care hospital, no matter where you are in the healthcare space, Guarantee Health Solutions is here to help you grow, to help get patients in the door, to help patients have a more positive experience with you so that they return. You're talking about a company in Guarantee Health Solutions that's able to give a full assessment of the patient's journey. They're able to help you with marketing, help you become more digital. They're able to train your front desk to allow the patient experience to be a positive one. And they've handled 1 million patients over the last year at Guarantee Health Solutions. They're in 12 states, 23 partnerships. For those in the healthcare space, you know how impressive this is. They were able to take one partnership and take their net promoter score from a 65 to a 90 in 3 months. 65 to a 90 in 3 months. So if you're in the healthcare space and you would like some help in moving forward in generating business for your practice and improving your patient's experience, Guarantee Health Solutions is the call you need to make. Check them out online, guaranteehealth.com, guaranteehealth.com. All right, there's an article on ESPN. They do this every year. It's a mock draft, but it's all trades. All trades. So I looked it up. I was like, okay, what are they going to do with the Saints here? Like, I know there's going to be some trade back scenario that I can go ahead and look at and understand that Mickey would never do that. And so I scroll down to the Saints at 8, and I say, well, what do they do? And it says, Mickey Loomis's next trade down in round 1 of a draft will be his first, which means there's only one direction to travel here. I've already mocked a smaller move up for the Saints, so how high could they realistically go if they want to make a major defensive splash? And so in this, he's got the Saints trading up to the 3rd pick in the draft with Arizona. They would give Arizona their 8th slot, obviously, a 3rd rounder this year and a 2nd rounder next year. And in this, it's a trade up to go get Bailey from Texas Tech. Okay, let's chew on that for a second. That position is vital to playing championship level football. We all agree on that. If you could get the next TJ Watt, if you could get the next Myles Garrett, if you could get the next terror off the edge that's a 13, 14 sack guy, like, that's a game changer for your franchise. It makes teams play you differently. I understand that. But there's no guarantee of it. And the only thing you guarantee if you trade and make this move to take that player, you guarantee that you don't have a 3rd round pick this year and you don't have a 2nd round pick next year. And the guarantees in that way, the assets that you so badly need for this team go away for the hope that you got a game changer at 3, when the actuality is that you may be able to, there will be a all-pro player available there at 8. Now, whether or not the Saints take him remains to be seen. But I cannot get on board with moving a 3rd and a 2nd to go up 5 spots to take a player that's not a quarterback. Like, I just can't get on board with it. It's exciting. It would be interesting. It would be a content bonanza for us. But what have we said about the Saints for 2 years now? Younger, cheaper, younger, cheaper, younger, cheaper. And if you give away assets that allow you to get young, cheap players, you can't get enough young, cheap players. And the Saints desperately need them. I applaud the Saint front office last year for essentially standing pat and making their picks. One minor move, but essentially standing pat and making their picks. You got to do that again. You can't fall back into the ways of moving up to get guys that ultimately didn't pan out. You can't make moves to go get Davenport. You can't make moves to go get guys that ultimately don't help. The draft's a crapshoot. We know that. So the only thing that's guaranteed is the amount of players that you can bring in. And limiting that to go take a risk, it just doesn't make sense for this team. Now, if you are in the end of the Breeze era, I'll live with it. You think you're one piece away. Saints aren't one piece away. If they go and get Bailey at 3 and he gets 17 sacks this year, the Saints still have issues. They got issues at wide receiver. They got issues at corner. They got issues at linebacker. They got issues. I thought that the final piece to this blurb on ESPN.com in this story was a little bit interesting. It says Arizona, again, would add a premium pick in 2027 from a team that doesn't project to be very good. They're talking about the Saints in that doesn't project to be very good. We all think that they project to be better. How good, we'll see. But you are not in a position right now to trade up. You want to consider moving a few spots in the 5th or something, I'll listen to it begrudgingly we're not dealing second and third round picks right now with this roster the way it is in New Orleans. You need to take those players on rookie contracts that don't cost a lot of money and are in their early 20s and hope that you hit on a lot of them like it appears you did last year. Can't be ditching assets to move up 5 spots when you need holes plugged every which way. Can't happen. Jordan, how do we feel about it?
Hunt, I promise you, if Mickey Loomis ever traded up right now to, especially for the number 3 pick and draft another DN, unless this guy is Myles Garrett or Will Anderson Jr., we can both agree he's not Myles Garrett or Will Anderson Jr.
Doesn't appear to be.
He does not appear to be. You will hear the purge music go on in New Orleans, and we will have an angry mob of pitchforks and who knows else was out there will be at an airline drive ready to talk to Mickey Loomis.
My take on the draft stuff, because it's such a crapshoot.
Extremely.
I'm not here to criticize or validate the actual player and his skill set. Like, that's a little bit beyond my course and scope. No one really knows. How many times is Mel Kiper dead wrong? How many times he dead? I am here to evaluate the plan.
Yes.
That plan is not good. The plan of ditching a second and third round pick to move up 5 spots is not good.
Well, he could be there at 8.
Yeah.
Essentially, he could actually be there at 8. Oh, no, sir. No,
that
sir.
plan is not good.
No,
so
sir.
That's it was interesting. I was looking for the Saints trade back thing in this. Instead, it was a trade up thing.
I could have been cool with that. Yeah. You would have had me, but trading up for David Bailey top 3 and it's not Will Anderson Jr., Mickey, please.
There's no indication he's doing it. We can't get mad at Mickey right now. He hasn't done anything.
Right, it's
Gotta wait until
hypothetical.
he does something before we get mad at him. That's it for hour number 1 here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. You missed the first hour, 30 minutes on LSU baseball at the top. We talked a little LSU football in the running game. That's all can be found at Hunt on LSU, wherever you find your podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. Little Saints there. Hunt on Saints, always available for your Saints coverage year-round. We got a lot to do in hour number 2. I got to get you ready for the Final Four's conclusion tonight. And, of course, got to talk a little bit about LSU baseball with Jacob Runner. We'll do that later.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Ran out of time there. That hard break will come get you. Closing up hour number 1 here, brought to you by Chevrolet. Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Fabry Chevrolet GMC on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Go by and see them. They got an incredible staff there. As you well know, the Fabry family has been doing business in this town for 35 years. They've been doing it with great customer service, a wonderful buying experience, and great service after the sale. So go by and see them in St. Francisville. It's a quick drive from Baton Rouge. Maybe you're north of town in Zachary or Baker, just right up Highway 61 in St. Francisville. The entire inventory is online at FabryChevrolet.com. So if you're looking for a Tahoe, you're looking for a Yukon or Denali, it's all there at FabryChevrolet.com. And they got great deals, up to $11,000 off Silverados, up to $13,000 off Sierras if you were looking for a truck. Make that short drive up to St. Francisville or check them out online. You can find the entire inventory at FabryChevrolet.com. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC at FabryChevrolet.com.